All right. Good evening, everyone. This is Monica Shimonik from Mons Unshackled. It's a little late, 9:30 p.m., but here I am. I will not give up on you guys. I commit to going live regularly, and here I am. So for those who don't know me, I'm a certified health and mindset coach. I'm an author. I'm a family court crusader, and I have a lifelong contract with the universe to fix the family court system. So in order to do that, we must be healthy. We must be productive members of society if we want to even think about changing a system as corrupt and large as the family court system. So part of developing a system where we can overcome the family court abuse, which has been going on for 5 generations, we have to be healthier. We have to have the right mindset. We have to have education. We have to have a plan. So that starts with you as the individual. And so what I do is I guide moms into getting into the mindset that is needed to stand up for their rights in family court and to hold their own against the courtroom bullies. Okay, so that they can become better activists and they can fight more effectively for their children. Okay, so I had my son taken from me almost 10 years ago now, and I've just been repeatedly fighting and going back to court over and over and over again, demanding that the state uphold my rights, and that's where I'm at. So tonight we're going to do my favorite thing in the world, and that's algebra. And there's a reason why I'm doing this. I'm not going to give it away right now, but let's just bear with me, okay? And I have horrible handwriting, so I'm going to do the best I can. Okay. All right. I hope you could see this. It might reverse the images. I don't know. So we have A plus B plus C equals D. So A is the narcissist parent. All right, can you see that? B is the protective parent. Now, the protective parent could be a man or a woman. The narcissist could be a man or a woman. There's a lot of groups out there that believe that the only people that are able to be narcissists are the dad and only moms are protective parents, but that's just not true. And C, you guessed it, C is the family court system. Let's just draw a little courthouse, okay? I told you I'm not a good artist at all, okay? And D is just the chaos and the corruption and the death spiral, okay? What causes you to be unhealthy and miserable and broke and just in a terrible place in life, and your kids are victims of the system. These people are super happy. They're getting all your money. Your ex is getting all the grooming that he's ever wanted or she's ever wanted. They're happy and they're fulfilled. Okay, so that equation I just showed you it is hot in here. Oh my God. I don't know why. It's October. That equation I just showed you is the family court equation. And that is what allows the system to extract $52 billion a year from fit parents. Okay. All right, so you have the narcissist, you have the protector, you have the courts, and that's just a gigantic disaster. So a lot of you probably wonder, like, why does the narcissistic parent always, get what they want in family court, and why does the protective parent always seem to lose in family court? Well, this is why. The way the business model of family court can run effectively is by grooming the narcissist the minute the narcissist walks into court. So think about it. A narcissist is like a divorcing couple. When there's a narcissist, is like the family court high roller. Okay, the court serves as like fluff girls to the narcissist. I don't know if you know what fluff girls are. You might want to Google it. I want to keep this, PG. The family court serves as like, they groom the narcissist, plain and simple. It's like they serve them cheese and wine and crackers, and they stroke their ego, and they tell the narcissist how great they are, and they groom the narcissist to sue you for sole custody. Okay, this is typically the equation and how it runs, how it operates. And the court, the evaluators, the judges, all these people, the attorneys, they are skilled at detecting the narcissist. They have like narcissist metal detectors. So it's like beep, 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 beep. And so what they're going to do is they're going to start grooming the narcissist. They're going to say things like, yeah, your ex seems really difficult. I'm sorry that you're going through this. Let's work it out so that you get the children, blah, 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 blah. And narcissists, interestingly, are not limited by their value system because they don't have value systems, and they aren't limited by money. So typically what stops us from spending a lot of money is the finite amount of resources that we have. Like, you're not going to buy a Mercedes if you don't have 50 grand. And also, like, another thing that stops us from doing things is like our conscience. Like, well, I could do that. I have the money to do that, but I won't do that because it's not a nice thing to do. So narcissists don't really care about their money. Like, they don't care if they have to max out 20 credit cards. And they also are not limited by their conscience. Okay. What happens is, the reason the narcissist loves to spend money and do whatever they can to make you miserable is because it brings them that ego boost. And I don't know what happened in American culture, but somehow we all decided that judges should be worshipped and lawyers are like better than us. And if you're wearing a suit and you have an opinion, like, that matters more than, like, what our best friend thinks of us. So we just tend to like idealize and put these people on pedestals. So when the narcissist is getting groomed by these quote unquote important people, they're likely to spend the money that's needed to continue to get that fix. Okay. So now you have a kind of like an idea of like the family court business framework here. Okay. Now there's a reason why I'm explaining all this to you, and I'll tell you that towards the end. So again, the narcissist is like the family court soulmate, and they are the family court high roller. The family court is going to spend extra resources to get that narcissist to continue being litigious and filing the motions and stealing the kids and making things difficult. Okay. So what happens when all this stuff happens is that you, as the protective parent, whether you're a man or a woman, you become a victim. Okay. It's a natural progression of what happens. You start off, you have friends, you have a job, you have a life, you have money, you have your health, you have your self-esteem, you have all these things. You go to court, you get carried through this horrible system, and within 6 to 12 months, you're now a victim. Your whole life is like falling apart. You're in shambles. Your relationship with your children is changing because you're having far less access to them. You can't, ridiculous things happen where you can't be present at their medical appointments. You're not allowed to talk to their teachers. Like I'm not allowed to ask for changes in my son's education plan. He's in special ed. So, like all these like things are changing. Your identity as a parent is changing and just being ripped away from you. And you become a victim. Okay. Your health starts to crash. You start to become anxious, depressed. Your sleep changes, your eating changes. You start to develop digestive issues. And you don't have the confidence, you don't have, and also like your friendships are changing. You're not who you were. You're not the person that you used to be at work, and you're not relating to your friends the way you used to. Even your immediate family, like, things are just changing there because pretty much everything you're doing, you're talking about the family court system and how awful it is. And that is difficult for friends and family to be present for. Okay. Speaking from direct experience. So you don't have you're not as healthy as you once were. You're not empowered. You don't have the confidence. You don't have any self-assuredness, and you're very deeply affected by the nastiness, like the bullies in the courtroom. So what happens is, as victims, we start spending money also to get back into the court's good graces. So if we lose temporary custody of our kids, maybe we're reduced to every other weekend, like me. Okay. You're going to end up spending money to get back into the court's good graces. You're going to like get a therapist for your child. Cause let's see, if what I'm saying isn't enough for the court to bring me my child back, let me hire a therapist so that the therapist could say that my child should be around me. Let me hire a psychological evaluator to examine me. And then that person can tell the court that I'm not crazy and that I'm a normal person. Let me get a GAL so that the GAL could like measure my backyard and like look into my life and make sure that I'm a good person. So you're going to start to spend money on outside sources to validate who you are as a person, as a parent. Okay, so that's what we do. We get positioned into the victim state. We're no longer like the expert of our children. We're no longer the expert of our own lives. We're being our lives paths are being like taken over by outside sources that we have no control over. Okay. So we have an activist in Connecticut. Her name is Susan Skip. She's really intelligent. She's mentored me a bunch of times, and she's really brilliant. So she once said in a public hearing, she said, victimization is a constant revenue stream for the court system. Okay, and that is so true. You cannot generate revenue for the state if you are not a victim. There has to be a victim. If you have an empowered parent and a narcissist, there's no money. There's no money being circulated around. Okay, you need the narcissist, you need the victim. Those two things have to happen at the same time. And the victim is typically the protective parent. So they're kind of interchangeable. So now here's a question. What if you suddenly got back your self-esteem, and you got back your confidence, and you got your health back, and you started to set boundaries around the toxicity with your ex? You stopped what I call codependency parenting. They say you need to co-parent. What they're really saying is you need to codependency parent. They want you guys to be codependent on each other. The narcissist needs to make sure that they're making you miserable, and then when you react and feed into that, it makes them more powerful, and then you become more of a victim. So that's a beautiful marriage right there, right? And the court will discourage parallel parenting, which is a healthy form of parenting when there's a narcissist and a victim. You need those parallel parenting models, but the court will not endorse them. The court won't even act like it's a thing, even though you get to choose whichever kind of relationship you want with your ex. But that's a whole nother topic. So what if you set the boundaries, you parallel parented, you got your health back, you got your confidence back? This is what happens. When you are no longer a victim, neither are your children. Your children also are no longer victims. In my opinion, kids only need one strong parent. Okay, you can have a mean parent and a wonderful, healthy, strong, confident parent, and you could still turn out okay. That's just my opinion. I'm not a child therapist, but that I believe that in my core, that people could come from horrible circumstances and grow up to be amazing, as long as they have that one parent or just like a really close mentor. Okay, so what if you rose up and you became an activist? You broke out of that victim story. Okay, you're like, that victim identity is no longer serving me. I'm now going to, take back my identity as a strong parent. Or even if you weren't a strong parent before, now you're going to be a strong parent. Okay, now like this is I'm making my position known. I'm repositioning myself as a strong person in my own life. I am the expert of my life. I am the expert of my children's lives. And now some of you watching might be like, well, I can't do that because then the court will be pissed off and they'll take my child away. Well, so I'm going to counter you and saying, yes, the court might be mad. Okay, the courts don't like strong parents. The courts love crying, desperate victims. The courts love that. That's what keeps their business model going. A victim is like lubricant in the financial transactions. Okay. So when you start to stand up and become empowered, you are suddenly putting a stop to that system, and that's not fun. Okay. Now I'll tell you, I decided to take back my power in 2015, and the court has not made any money off of me since then. And the court has actually lost money by having me around. So, the court has to pay marshals, the court has to pay a clerk, who are those people that type, transcribers, something like that. The court has to pay for that. The judge has to get a salary, So now I'm costing the system money because I won't allow the system to extort money out of me anymore. Like I'm not dumping any more money into the system to prove my worth to a judge. Okay, I've made that decision. So you decide you're not going to spend money to get back into the court's good graces. You're going to just be you, be your activist, badass self. And so that might make the court mad, but you are not required to be liked by anybody to have basic human rights, okay, like having the right to be a parent. There are laws protecting you as a fit parent in your child's life. There's not a single law that says being liked and being favor, being cooperative and all that. There's no law that says that that's the ticket to getting your child back. Because I'm going to tell you something. Everybody watching, every single person in the world, even like Jeffrey Dahmer, they all knew how to be liked. It's not that hard to be liked. You could fake it. How many of you have successfully succeeded at a job interview? Okay. How many of you guys have shaken hands with a neighbor? How many of you have gotten fast food and like paid the money and said, have a nice day? Like, everybody knows how to be nice. Everybody knows how to be cooperative. And if that's all it took, I say this in every live stream lately, if all it took was to be nice and agreeable and likable and malleable, if that's all it took, we would all have our kids. We would not have 22 million parents walking around without their kids. We would not have 5 generations of kids growing up without one of their parents. We would not have like this whole divorce industry plaguing our culture for half of a century. Okay, we wouldn't have those things if all it took was to be liked and be malleable. Okay, so consider that maybe being liked isn't the way to go. Okay, you still don't have your kids, so has that really worked for you? It certainly didn't work for me. So getting back to the intent of sharing this with you. When I learned this whole system, when I learned how this works, something shifted in me. I said, oh my God, it's not me. Because I'll tell you, for years, for 5 years, I thought it was me. I thought, oh my God, if I had just done blah, 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 I would still have my child. These are the things I told myself for 5 years. Now, we have social media now, because when I got my son taken in 2010, Facebook really wasn't a thing. There were no Facebook groups. There were no Facebook Lives. Google sharing really wasn't a thing. Now we're sharing documents. We're sharing ideas. We're going into Facebook groups. We're doing live streams. We're so much more aware now than we were 10 years ago. So when I lost my son in 2010, I definitely didn't go on Google. The popular websites when I lost my son were like WordPress and like those really old-fashioned blogs. And like, so there was no one to go to. There was definitely nobody in my local community that I could be like, oh my God, like I lost my son in the court system. The only group that I was able to find was ironically the father's rights people. They were the ones that like helped me, but even them, it was very hard to find support online. So for 5 years, I thought it was me. I was like, oh my God. For 5 years, I was beating myself up. I was like, I wish I just got a better GPA in college, because now when I say reasons, I mean reasons, because these evaluators, these GALs, these judges, when they do take your kid away from you, they have to invent a reason. They have to be like, well, this parent lives 13 miles away and we can't have that. This parent has a second child and that's really not good for the kid because the second child might just take the kid's toy away and the kid won't like it. This parent has an alcoholic brother and there might be a genetic thing and it might make the mother into an alcoholic as well. So like judges will come up with reasons. I had a client, she wasn't a client, she was a mom I was in touch with, who came from a Native American lineage, and her family, her lineage, like her grandparents, great grandparents, somehow were massacred. I don't know what happened. Like they all got sick or something, like something bad happened to her family, and she ended up becoming an orphan in like the 1970s or something. And the court used that against her to take her 2 daughters away from her. So like the court will come up with reasons. And so what happens is when a parent doesn't understand this business model that I described to you, the parent is going to be like, oh my God, it's me. Like I should have came from a better family. I should have done better in college. Because one thing that the judge said about me in my case was that my GPA in college wasn't high enough. And because of my GPA, I wasn't going to be able to find a better job, like a good job in nutrition. So I became an entrepreneur instead. Haha. So because, the evaluator accessed my transcripts from college when she was doing her evaluation. So what parents are going to do when they don't understand the system is they're going to look at the reasons that are outlined in the court orders, and they're going to be like, oh my God, look at that reason, look at that reason, look at that reason. It's my fault. I'm not worthy of having my child in my life. And now I have to fix these things. Okay, so you're going to blame yourself if you don't understand the system. So when I learned how the system worked, I immediately, it was like right away. I went from a victim, because I was a victim for like a long time. Okay. I went from a victim to an activist like in like an hour. And the more I learned about the family court business, the less I felt like a victim. And I have not gone back, because transformation is a one-way valve. Once you transform into a certain direction, once you like ascend to a better consciousness, you're not going to fall back. Okay. I mean, you might have a couple of relapses once in a while, but you're going to immediately pull yourself out of it. So, so that's what I mean. So the reason I talk about the business model of family law is because that is one of the crucial steps that you need to take to propel you into healing. Learning the business model is going to make you feel better. It's going to make you feel better about yourself. And like, you're not going to blame yourself anymore. Like, I could care less about my GPA in college, because I know that no matter what I got in college, I would have lost my child anyway. I mean, we have doctors losing their kids, you know. I blamed myself for 5 years. I said I should have gotten a better GPA. I actually wanted to go back to school to get good grades so I could show the court that I had an A average. And I actually did. I actually did go back to school, and I graduated with A's, but it didn't matter. I still don't have my son. But so you're gonna do all sorts of things. You're gonna get a different house. You're gonna like dump your boyfriend. You're gonna like stop playing tennis. You're gonna stop doing all these things, and you're gonna start doing things. I joined the PTO right after I had my son taken. I joined the PTO because I wanted to look like a bake sale mommy, and I wanted to impress the judge. I wanted the judge to like me, and that's what the judges do. They want you to believe that you have to be liked, and there's no laws on the books that require you to be liked. Okay, there are a lot of very unpleasant people out there, and they all still have their rights. Unpleasant people still vote, they still own property, they still get married, they still get to speak freely, they get to have children, they get to keep their children. So don't think for a minute that there's something you did that caused you to lose your child. Now, if you did lose your child because you are not a fit parent, then you would have been taken through like the child protective system, okay? And they would have put you on a case plan. You know, you would have been like substantiated for abuse or neglect or whatever, and they would have put you on a case plan, and then they would give you a period of time to complete whatever. And that's a crappy system too, don't get me wrong. But at least on paper, you have an opportunity to rehabilitate and reunify. So just a little bonus here. When I went to the appeals court and I did my oral argument to the panel, I said that. I said, I am in a worse position than an unfit parent because I was not given a case plan. I was not given a reunification plan. I've been separated for 10 years from my child, you know. And I said, you know, the CPS system would have taken me through a case plan, and I would have been able to rehabilitate and reunify. So anyway, learning the business model is important. Being liked, not important. You know, go ahead and let your ex be Miss America. Let your ex be complimented and like groomed, and let them all be buddies. Okay, who cares? Let them do what they do. It doesn't matter, because you can set boundaries around all that. And that's what I teach moms. I have like a quadrant of healing. This is a circle. And so one of those quadrants is education. So like understanding the business model of family law, understanding your rights, that's part of it. A lot of what I do is mindset work, like probably like, I think I spend the first month with moms working on mindset shifts. A lot of things to learn there. Education is huge, because an oppressed society needs education to get out of that. And then we work on self-care, because I'm a health coach. So we do like healing. And then it's late. What's the other thing? Oh, and setting boundaries around the ex, parallel parenting. Just moving away from that toxicity. You don't need that in your life, and it's not necessary. You don't need to even really deal with your ex at all, as little as possible. So anyway, let me see what we have for comments. So it looks like Claire's on. Hi, Claire. Yeah. So Claire agrees with me. So Claire's sharing her situation. Yep. Guys, feel free to share also. Feel free to offer insights. If you have anything to contribute, please do so. I love having conversations inside the threads. So I hope that this gave you a little bit of insight, and consider learning, educating yourself, and you can heal. You can start the healing process, okay? You only get one life, and your kids, again, when you heal, your kids are no longer victims, okay? Very, very important distinction. All right, so I hope you all have a good night. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.